Nice. So for a long time, I've talked about flex and paint, and I feel like I haven't given any clarification into what flex and paint actually is or what it represents. And flex and paint was born when I was living in my apartment in San Francisco, and I was really cold because I would paint with the window open because I needed ventilation for my paint, and I didn't want to run the heat because the window was open. So I was like, how can I get warmer? And so what I would do is lift weights, and I would paint and I would lift weights. I got a lot of weird benefits from both lifting weights and painting simultaneously. I found that working out and painting enabled me to inhabit my body in a way that I was able to kind of have a clear head so that I could vacillate between these states of athleticism and working on complex mental imagery or visualization. And I actually found that they complement each other in a way that I'm hoping today to share with you. I had an event called Flex and Paint, and people would ask me before the event, they were like, what is it? What is this thing that you're doing? And I didn't really have a good answer to give them. I was like trying to see what they thought it was at first. And a lot of people had assumed that it was gonna be like a workout class or like almost like a wine and paint night kind of thing. Like they were like, are we exercising? Are we painting? What are we doing? And the event itself was actually just basically an exhibition of my work as well as an opportunity for me to say, this is what I like to do. I like to work out and I like to paint. So I did live painting and live working out. After doing this event, I recognized that there was a huge missed opportunity in that I think people want to work out and they want to paint. And so today I'm hoping to offer that to you to say, pull up a chair with your easel, be ready to paint, and at the same time, be ready to do some push-ups. So let's get started. I think the best thing to do is lead in with some of the more painful work so that you can set yourself up for doing the more creative and inspired flow. Flex and Paint has a lot of value because I think you get a huge rush of endorphins from working out. I've always considered working out somewhat meditative. I'm in my head and also at the same time in my body. I'm aware of what I'm doing and I'm purely focused on executing movements. At the same time, I have no other distractions. And I think because I've cleared my head, I have more space to let any work that I'm doing actively sit and settle in my subconscious process while I work, or rather work out. And then I can go back to my easel when I feel ready and say, I'm gonna hit the ground running. So we're just gonna get going. I'm gonna mix some paint, and this is how we're gonna start. I have got my Naphthol red. I'm gonna make a bunch of paint. This is the part where I would suggest getting some music going. I think that having music is essential to this stage. And unfortunately, I don't think I can work out and paint and record at the same time that I play music because I think it's going to drown out my voice. So I'm just gonna be silently doing this. Maybe I'll edit in some music later, but a little bit of a bummer for me, but you know, that's okay. So yes, so yeah, I'm ready to paint and I'm ready to start doing some exercises. We're gonna take this, you go over here, you come with me, you're pretty red, tannish red. Is this the right color? Probably not, it's a little too red. Still too red and too light. Too dark, I mean, it's pretty close. Pretty close. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we've got our paint. Who even knows where this is gonna go? I think I said I was gonna do these like weird downward lines. Starting in pretty hot, like down this, something like that. I think one of the things that you should keep in mind is that as you are performing this flex and paint ritual or whatever, you are completely engrossed in what you're doing. And I'm finding that I'm having a hard time talking while I'm painting because I am so focused. And I think that is one of the benefits of saying, I'm gonna work out and I'm gonna paint at the same time. I'm totally focused. I really do encourage you to make this your own, and I'm hoping that you sort of see this process so that you can emulate the process. It's not about exactly following my specific workout or my specific painting, but it's more about understanding how can I hit this right mix of this physical and this creative pursuit, get all of these endorphins, get all of this flow state going, because that really, I think, is the benefit of Flex and Paint. So whether or not you chose to start with your painting or your exercise, this is an appropriate time for me now to reflect on what I've done. So I'm gonna go over to my kettlebells. So you finished your first session of painting and now it is time to flex. So I am just gonna get the blood flowing. I'm gonna basically just do what feels right at this time. So I always like to start off with some bicep stuff, do some hammer curls, and I'm setting myself up in a state where I'm looking at my painting. The main thing is that you're letting your subconscious ruminate on what you want to do next. So I'm just going to get kind of warming up here, and I'm going to do some stuff with my kettlebells. I'm going to start with some military press. Do 10 of those on that arm, 10 of those on this arm. I'm going to do some curls. And I think it's really important, we'll do another 10 on this side. It's really important to focus on your mind-muscle connection. That's the whole point of this exercise, is that I'm blending the physical aspect and the act of inhabiting my body in the most conscious, mindful state as possible, while letting my senses interact with the art that I'm actively working on. If you're not working on art and you are focused instead on thinking about your art, that's totally cool. I think the main thing is that you want to just be focused in whatever you're doing. Next, we're going to do, with a larger kettlebell, some oblique crunches. I don't do those nearly enough. So I've got my 40 pound kettlebell, and I'm going to do some oblique crunches. Again, I find it hard to talk while I'm doing my sets or even while I'm doing my art, and it is because I am quite focused on what I'm trying to do here, and I will probably take some more discussions and edit them over the video as we go. Definitely take a moment to look at your art, think about what you're doing. Consider what you might do next, but exercise some amount of self-restraint and know that you will come back to it if it's a good idea. And if not, then also fine. I'm thinking about how in my own painting, I might want to use a gray for the leaves that are coming out of the left vase. and I'm sort of trying to think, what would that look like? I'm imagining those superimposed on my canvas. And the nice thing about this process is that if an idea is so right and so compelling while you're doing your exercise that you pull yourself out of your exercise to do it, it probably is a good idea. You should follow that. You should listen to that. I like that thought, but I want to sit on it a little bit longer. So I'm going to continue to do more exercise. And then eventually, some aspect of my scene will be so compelling that I say, I must paint that. I will paint that. And for me, that is the real advantage of this process. This is a pretty arm-heavy focus workout, and feel free to swap out anything like these tricep extensions for squats. I am going to do some body weight stuff in a minute. It's just mostly easy for me to record given this angle. Okay, so I've done my flexing and now I'm back to my painting. I had an idea or a thought that for me was just too good to pass up. So I am going to paint it, and really it's not anything complex, it's not anything crazy, but I was seeing some forms as I was painting and I want to jot those down. So I'm hoping to lay a little bit more white onto here. To me, one of the most essential steps in oil painting is not necessarily the time that you're spending with a brush or a knife in your hand or even mixing paint, but simply staring at your piece as it is maybe half of the way done, or really any step, iterative step between step 1 and step 2 or step 9 and step 10, and just visualizing and thinking about where you might go with it, how you might play around. I think there's a lot of benefit to the physical aspect of painting, where you kind of let yourself imagine that the painting is an action painting and it's more about you performing the gestures of painting and moving your arms around and slapping paint on the canvas and just seeing what happens. Sure, do that. I also think there's a lot of benefit in realizing what you are visualizing. So standing there, thinking back to what you might have just done in that sort of action step and saying, okay, now where do I go from here? I've walked the path as far as I can take it. Now I have to reassess and consider where I might go next. I think another benefit of this is the fact that you get to hybridize that time where you are simply standing and thinking and processing with something else beneficial, which is exercise. Sure, why not? Again, I think one of the main benefits of doing this and trying to flex and paint is that you get to observe your mind's process for generating and judging ideas. I think that if you are so strongly attached to an idea while you're working out that you come back to it later or you are compelled to paint it, it works and it's probably a good one. So you should let your body sort of be that guide. I think another one of the main advantages that I like about this process is that I'm getting my endorphins up. So those endorphins will not only influence the painting process, but they make the painting process more enjoyable. I'm more focused, I'm more in the flow state, and I just generally enjoy oil painting when I get to pair it with exercise. It's kind of like a fine wine, you know? Next, we're gonna do some kettlebell swings. I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, the time that I'm not painting, I better be doing something else, which is certainly one way to look at it, and I think it is one benefit. But I'm not doing it to be optimal or to really maximize how much stuff I can cram into one space. I'm doing it because I know that for myself, when I flood my body with endorphins, when I exercise, the ability for me to generate better or new or novel ideas actually is increased. And I'm giving myself the space and the agency to judge those ideas, not only academically or mentally, but also with my body. I get to judge, what does my body want to do right now? Would it prefer to continue lifting weights, or would it prefer to pick up a brush and execute on the idea that I had thought? It's about learning how to trust that gut feeling. And much like I said, in a lot of painting, it's action painting. It's about doing something and then seeing if you can conjure a form out of the clouds. I think that in flexing and painting at the same time, you gain the benefit of letting your body be a vessel for those thoughts as well. So again, we're going to do our circuit, a little bit of military press, a little bit of curls, maybe some more kettlebell swings after this, maybe some tricep extensions. This is going to be a fairly upper body focused workout. I think that you should also take plenty of time doing neither. Don't work out, don't paint, just stare. I'm really motivated to paint in all of the leaves here. And I kind of want to add more dark stuff, more textured dark bits into here. And then I'm hoping to do the lighter leaves. I'm conflicted on making them red or like a gray color. I think I'm just going to start small and just go with some of these darker bits. I really like the idea of adding in the back edge of this vase lip as well, but I think I'm going to procrastinate that. So I'm just focused on doing stuff that is kind of the more dark element. Again, one of the nicest aspects of doing flex and paint is that you don't force your speed in any way. I'm certainly keen on painting and I'm keen on getting this done, but I'm not gonna rush and do any shortcuts or do anything that I'm gonna regret. I'm really giving myself tons and tons and tons of time to think about what I'm doing. I'm being metered, I'm being sure that adding this brush stroke or that stroke of the knife is what I want, and I'm really trying to focus on that. I'm trying to focus on making sure that I'm executing in a way that to me feels healthy, it feels organic, it feels right. Trying to think about the total level of density of what's going on here. I know that this shadow goes down here, it practically touches. So I want to make sure that I'm capturing that. So at this point, I'm just working on this theme that I had in my head, and I am totally focused on what I'm doing. I'm not really thinking about what comes next. I'm just saying this feels right, and I will work on these dark browns, do all the dark stuff that to me feels appropriately dense. It feels like I'm getting a good amount of coverage given the context of the composition. And now I'm going to take a step back and think about it again. And I'm going to say, should I keep going here? Should I make some adjustments? Should I prepare for the next phase of what I'm doing? Really, it's hard to say, and I'm going to lean on my other half of this process where I am being more meditative and more focused on my body to tell me if I'm in the right direction. This is really going to be the last set of what we do today for the exercises, and the thing that I like to do while I'm working on this process is to choose something that I feel like is relatively sustainable. I'm not doing these exercises necessarily for muscle growth, and I'm doing them more as a way to connect with my body. So you could choose something that you feel like you could do almost an infinite number of sets of. I like to work out in a way where I'm saying, yeah, I've got maybe 10 curls to each arm, and if I give myself 10 minutes of rest between each one, I could probably do that for 2 hours. And really working on that sustainable exercise is great because it keeps it simple, and feel free to modify it. If you say, yeah, you know, now I'm actually really tired on this muscle group, do something else. I'm still planning on going to the gym later. I don't really think that this is going to necessarily impact my workout that I do later. It probably will have some amount of play into it, but I'm not exerting myself so hard that I'm going to suffer later. I think the main thing is that I've connected with my body, and maybe I got my heart rate up. I flooded my body with endorphins. So really doing any of these things is really helpful. Nice. That's going to be it for today. I hope that you got something out of Flex and Paint. I am planning on doing more of these where I'll have a different painting and a different workout, and hopefully with enough repetition of this process, you'll come to understand the benefit.